Now, the function of supply chain or logistics, including transportation, fleet management, and traffic, involves a lot of metrics. Metrics are numbers that you would use calculate on a periodic basis to see if your operations have improved or they're lacking and how to correct them. And then we match them up against some sort of industry or internal benchmarks. Now, there's a document right above these video tutorials called SCMMetrics. It's a PDF file. Looks like this. You want to open it, you want to print it, and what I've done is I've selected about 15 very common metrics performed in the industry. And we're going to have several videos. Each video will be calculating several metrics at a time, except that two difficult ones we'll have separate videos for. So print this off, and then open up the file called Pivot Data 2, and in tab 2, this is where all your answers will come from. So of course you took a few minutes to understand what each of these columns means. So it's a company that sells 3 different products to a variety of customers and a variety of information for each invoice. So for example, each line here represents one invoice or one order placed on this date with this number, and it has trucking or shipping information towards the end. Now we're going to open up a brand new pivot, and the first metric we're going to do is the shipping cost or freight cost by unit shipped. So let's have a look. What do you think the shipping costs are? Well, we have a field here called ship costs. We'll put that in box 1 values, and the total is this. Now this amount includes actual cost of running the shipment from our location, our dock in the truck, to the customer's dock, and we actually pay for that shipping, and we actually manage to include it in an invoice at a later time. And sometimes we use our own trucks as often as we can, but sometimes we have to use what you call a common carrier, for example Purolator, FedEx, or UPS, or DHL. So my total shipping costs, the way they are $2,073,594. But in addition to that, I'm probably charged accessorial costs, which are additional amounts like insurance or long haul surcharges that you'll see in the tables towards the right. So I'm going to drop that in as well, and that's $111,000. And also late penalties. So if your truck gets to the customer's dock late, meaning if they gave you a 3 o'clock time slot and you're there at 3:30, they will charge you a penalty. Well, some customers will, not all customers. So let's drop that in there as well, and that's $99,000. Now what we're not going to include is transit claim. So transit claim is an amount for damaged goods, and that gets taken off of gross sales to come up with net sales. So these are my 3 shipping costs here, and I'm just going to add them up over to this side. Let's have a look. We're going to add up A4 plus B4 plus C4, and that's going to give us a total of $2.284 million. Now, the question is, what is your shipping cost or freight cost per unit shipped? Well, how many units did we actually ship? It's the quantity here. And we're going to put that in box 1, and let's just change the format. It is 346,986 units. Now, even if the customer returns some of those units, it doesn't matter. You still have to pay to ship them out in the first place. So the math on this is that $2.284 million for 346,000 units. What is the cost per unit? So let's take this number, E7, divided by D4, and your answer is $6.58. Now let's do the second one, which is claims as a percentage of shipping cost. So let's get rid of sum of quantity. We don't want to see the quantity, but we want to see claims, and you'll see that right here, transit claims. Let's drop that in box 1. So you'll see pretty much they're the same. Now have a look. When you drop claims in here, you get a weird number, 440. Do you think the claims are actually $440? No, they weren't. But what Pivots did for you is it counted how many claims there were. So about 800 shipments we made, 440 of them had claims on them. What you want to do is right click, value field settings, and add up the claims, not count them, and it tells you $97,000. So let's do that number. It is the total claims, D4, divided by the total shipping cost, and it will tell you, and again this is a percentage, it will be 4.3 or 4.28%. Now let's do one more. late penalties as a percentage of shipping costs. So it's the same idea. Let's get rid of transit time and let's put late penalties in there. So out of my total $2.284 million shipping costs, what was late penalties? So the math is, let's do D4 divided by E7. And it was 4.35%. So 4.35% of my entire shipping expenses were actually late penalties, and we want to come up with some sort of strategies to lower that amount, of course, because nobody wants to pay penalties. And quite often customers delay your shipment from arriving at the dock just to get a discount or to get the penalty, and a penalty is usually an amount off the invoice or free product. Now let's do another one. Accessor Oriels as a percentage of shipping costs. So again, same idea. Let's just put Accessor Oriels in here and do the number. Okay, it's already being done for you. It's always going to be D4 divided by E7, so the answer is 4.89%. And that would be an indicator as to whether you're using your shipping channels efficiently or not. So let's have a look. We're going to split this apart. Although it's not a question in the metrics document, you might want to do this. You might want to do Accessor Oriels by ship type, which is your carrier. Let's put that in box 2. And it's actually going to split all this apart for you. So you'll notice that we do most of our shipping using our own trucks, but common carrier X, we're using the second most, right? And you can always do the total of all of the ship costs and then look at the various amounts like Accessor Oriels and the late penalties and so on. So for example, let's get rid of this. I'm going to put the late penalties back. So if we just did the calculation over here, which is your total late penalty, E4 divided by, and let's add our shipping cost. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's do B4 plus C4 plus D4. And you can always just use this number down here as well. Copy that down. And it tells you that for in-house shipments, my late penalties are 4.53. And those are my own drivers, okay? Copy that down. And you'll see that carrier X actually is on time, and maybe that's why we're using it more. They have a very efficient delivery process, but common carrier D is the worst because somehow they're not delivering on time. Maybe they're doing LTL, less than loads, you know, breaking up our shipment with other of their customers. But overall, in my company, my late fees are 4.35%. And you could run these metrics based on you know, it doesn't have to be just late penalties. You can do it on all sorts of other things that we did before, Accessor Oriels, for example, and so on. So while we're here, let's do one more. And I'm just going to clear out all of this. And I'm just going to use the same pivot again, right? Nothing wrong with that. And we want to do outbound shipping costs as percentage of net sales. So I shouldn't have removed all of that, but let's do it again just for practice. So ship cost over here. We've got Accessor Oriels over here, and then late penalty over here. So these are my 3 total shipping costs. Let's add them up. Just do it over here. So again, it doesn't matter where you do it. A4 plus B4 plus C4. Total shipping costs, and we want to see net sales. So what percentage of my net sales of $44 million did I actually spend on shipping or freight costs? So let's do that. My freight costs divided by my net sales, and it gives you, make sure you convert it to a percent. We're running about 5.1% on shipping alone, and you want to try to reduce that because it takes away from your actual profit picture. Now we're going to do one more while we're here, and this is called outbound transit time. So let's have a look. Outbound transit time has nothing to do with costs, so let's remove all of this. And again, you could start a brand new fresh pivot if you like, but I'm just going to demonstrate using one. So what is transit time? It's right here, transit minutes, okay? We're going to put that in here, and again, they're minutes, not dollars, so 464,935 minutes. That's called outbound because these are goods leaving my facility, my warehouse. There's another metric called inbound. So when you're ordering materials and supplies coming in through purchasing, you want to calculate that as well. So especially in a just-in-time environment. So my outbound minutes is 464,000. Let's convert that to hours. Okay, so if I took A4, my total minutes, and divided by 60, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, it was 7,748 hours. and if you knew the hours, and you know there's 24 hours in a day, you can easily figure out the days by dividing that by 24. So a total of 322 days were spent in transit time for my shipments. And again, there's all sorts of efficiencies that you can realize by making changes, either using additional carriers, buying new types of trucks, planning out different transportation routes. You know, for example, 407, it might be worth paying the fee for the 407 just to get your shipment out there on time. But we're going to break this apart. So let's have a look at different carriers. The ship type, let's put it in row labels, and it's going to break this down for you by you know, in-house we're doing 434,000 minutes, and again you can calculate the hours if you like. So let's do B4 divided by 60, and again you could do the days as well, which is C4 divided by 24, and copy those down. So it gives you the totals, and it gives you by carrier. So we're underutilizing carrier C, and there must be a reason for it. I think carrier X was one of our favorable carriers, and carrier D we're using more than carrier C, which was more favorable. So you might want to start phasing out the use of carrier D, but there must be a reason for it. For example, carrier D might be specializing in transportation of dangerous goods, or maybe they were refrigerated carriers or air cushion, air ride carriers. So this is where you want to do your analysis. Now if you want to see some averages, how many minutes was it per shipment, and we'll just take ship type out because I just want to look at total numbers. This is total minutes, but for each delivery that we made, if you right click on the number and go to value field settings, for each delivery we made, on average it was 586 minutes. And we might actually then break this down by, let's say, customer or the different type of product, and if we had a zone, possibly how far the place is, and so on. So I'm just gonna run that by kilometers, put kilometers in here, and so let's right click on one of these numbers and group it, and let's say by 200. So it's going to give me breakdowns by 200 kilometers a segment, and there we go. So we can quickly see that short haul shipments of under 600, 700 minutes are averaging around 300, 310 transit minutes, but large haul shipments, long haul shipments, are averaging around 700, and that shows you an efficiency, because if these are like very long hauls in terms of kilometers, then they're probably using highways more, maybe toll highways, versus the lower end shipments. The lower haul shipments are using more local roads, city roads, and they're slowed down. So we want to look at transportation patterns and times of days and dispatches to make our traffic management that much more efficient.